Hello, thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Wise Content Creates Wealth. You've heard that content is king. Well, wise content rules the world. Wise content requires analysis and use of data to inform decisions about what to create and how to promote it. Using knowledge and tools such as behavioral science, artificial intelligence, semantic research, and influence or co-creation, amongst others, are necessary to make a meaningful impact on content produced and its resulting effectiveness. This podcast investigates the people, the science, the techniques, tactics, stories, case studies, and tools that make wise content successful. I am Joseph Franklin McElroy, and I'm a marketing technology expert who's built a multi-million-dollar company. I'm also an award-winning content producer. Be sure to go to wisecontentcreateswealth.com to sign up for my newsletter and get access to resources to help you produce wise content and know more about upcoming episodes and webinars. My company is GalileoTechMedia.com, and it's a leading SEO and content marketing firm specializing in the travel industry, multi-location businesses, financial software as a service, and real estate. Today, we're going to talk about AI's role in predicting decisions, especially creative decisions for future ad campaigns. But first, I'm just going to give you a little anecdote about wise content. Sometimes, you don't know content is wise until after the fact. And it's analyzing what its result is where you find the wisdom. And it's actually in my own personal business endeavors to just today. Another podcast called Gateway to the Smokies. I own a motel/resort in the Smoky Mountains of North Carolina. In fact, it was my homestead growing up, but now I have taken it over along with my wife, and we're been renovating it and trying to build it into something in a town that had seen some better times. But which seemed to be, happening now. It's called Maggie Valley, North Carolina. So anyway, this podcast, I would have interesting people come on to talk about various aspects of the cultures of the Smoky Mountains. And I had a man on there named Bob Plott, who is family brought the Plott hound to North Carolina and actually to the United States. And it's a state dog of North Carolina. So I thought that would be an interesting segment for the show. So he comes on and we have a nice conversation. So analyzing after the fact, both on the site and podcasts, I realized that, boy, there was a huge jump in people listening and downloading the podcast and also going to the website to read more information. And I had to investigate why. And I talked to Bob about that and said, there's actually a very active and big community that loves these dogs. And there's also a bear hunting community. There's a Netflix show called Meat Eater and all sorts of stuff. So I said, well, we should do something. And he said, there used to be a festival in Maggie Valley, but that was years ago. And I said, well, we should do something at our place because we're trying to do events. And so we agreed. So we set up and started doing it. And today is the launch of that event. Well, what's really fantastic about that is we've actually filled up our place. We have a lot of people coming here, and normally, if we had a rainstorm coming into this city because of things like a hurricane, everybody would be canceling the reservations. There's no reservations being canceled. People are showing up in droves to be part of this, and not only that, we had introduced a Heritage Club. It was a motel club for people to join in, get discounts on their rooms and future things, and they're signing up for that. So in my book, it's analyzing it and taking action based upon what you find out from the content that you did. Maybe it's just sort of the standard routine content, but it has an outsized response to what you were expecting is also wise content because you're taking wise actions after you see some content react. So anyway, today, my guest is RJ Taylor. RJ Taylor is the CEO and founder of Pattern89, an AI platform for digital marketing. Pattern89 analyzes ads across 49,000 creative dimensions. dimensions, and 500 billion marketing data points to predict which creative decisions will perform for future campaigns. RJ has been recognized as one of the Indianapolis Business Journal's 40 under 40. How are you doing, RJ?
I'm doing great. Thanks. Sounds like I need to be where you are in North Carolina. We need to talk about that, your new resort. I need to get down there.
Well, it's not exactly new. It's 70 years old, but we've been renovating. You do need to come down and visit.
It sounds even better.
It's called the Meadowlark Motel in Aggie Valley. So if you get a chance, yeah, definitely.
Cool.
It's a classic roadside motel. We got a little age on it, but we've been renovating it, and and it's got an evolution going. We're trying to maintain sort of the original charm as much as we can. So I see that you've got some interesting things going on in your life. You're a champion, national championship swimmer. What was that? When were you a national championship swimmer?
Oh, you know what? I swam in college, and I've swum with the USMS, the U.S. Master Swimming Group since then. So it's been about 20 years. Across that time, I've won a few different national championships, mostly open water. So meaning where you swim like 3 miles across a lake or something like that. So you don't have to swim fast. You just have to outlast your competitors. That's what I'm best at.
Just outlasting your competitors.
Right.
Hopefully that works in business too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Many lessons.
Yeah. Are you going to be in an Ironman competition then? That would be something that
I've actually done some relays. So like when you team up with a really good biker and a good runner. I am a good swimmer and I am a terrible biker and an even worse runner. So maybe, but I'll just do a relay.
You'll just do the relay part. That's good.
That's right.
All right. Yeah. So I'm in my second rodeo. I have a 28-year-old son, but I have now 2.5-year-old twins. I see that you're a father of 4. How's that handled? How are you doing handling that?
Well, it's let's just say I'm working from home and I've got the door locked. They run from age 9 to 3. I've got 3 boys and a girl, and they're wonderful, but they are always up to something. It typically involves shovels and ropes and bugs and whatever they can find outside.
Ants. Right now it's ants.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, lots of bees. They like to trap bees. So it's a wild ride, but it's pretty fun.
And then I saw another opportunity to promote my resort when I saw another one of your points of interest. The Smoky Mountains is great for bird watching, right? It's like got hundreds of species, unique species, and you're a bird watcher. Have you ever been to the Smoky Mountains?
I've been fishing in the Smokies before, but never bird watching. And I'll tell you, it's my COVID hobby. And I just started getting more and more bird feeders around my house, and it's turned into kind of a family pastime at this point. But yeah, again, it sounds like I need to book a trip right now to your motel, and we can do some of that together. That'd be great.
Listen, whenever I'm here, I see at least 10 different birds or colors I don't even recognize. It's always like a bunch of different things. So
that's cool.
Definitely. It's on my mind because I'm here now. I'm usually in New York City, but right now I'm in the mountains, and and you can see I have good enough internet here.
Yeah.
and now I hope or pray it doesn't go down.
Yeah.
But anyway, so. I was going to talk about your resume. So I saw your resume. You were with you came out of college, got into, some companies. You got into ExactTarget, which grew and you grew with it like for 9 years. Then it was acquired for Salesforce for $2.5 billion, and then you were there for a little while after. But that's not the thing that interested me. I want you to tell me a little bit about that. But what interests me is that you got a Master of Fine Arts in English at the same time at DePaul University. Now, why? How did you?
Yeah. When I graduated from college, people would ask me, "What do you want to do with your life?" Everybody asks that question, and I always answer the question as, "I want to be an entrepreneur and I want to be a professor." And it seems like you got to pick one of those two. And I didn't. And instead I said, I want to do both. And so when I was working at ExactTarget, I learned all about entrepreneurship, about tech. And at the same time, I was kind of nagging, that other side of me was nagging. So I got into the MFA in English program at Purdue. And I live in Indianapolis, which is just about an hour and 20 minutes. So I would just commute up there sometimes 3 days a week. And because I was working in tech, I could work from the Panera or from the Student Union building and take classes and do both. And I was single at the time. So I just worked and went to school for 3 years and got that master's degree. And it's kind of amazing how what I learned from a creative focused master's degree, and then my experience in tech have blended together in kind of an amazing way. And it's really helped with Pattern89 because that's where we fuse. I mean, we're jumping ahead on the resume, but I had someone tell me, the old cliche, you don't have to think in black and white, you can actually think in gray. And so I did that and pursued both. And it was a lot of work.
I recommend it. When I did my first .com back in the late 90s, at the same time, I was also pursuing arts. And essentially the first time I raised a few $1 million, I also got a piece of artwork into a museum.
Oh, cool.
So, I think that gives you a great satisfaction in life to have multiple things stimulate your interest, right?
Yeah. It's a good yin and yang that are closer, I think, than what people think, because I think you have to go one way or the other, but they actually are nicely overlapped.
Well, is your understanding that you learned of English applicable to understanding content? Is it important, do you think?
Yeah, totally. I mean, my experience, on the content side has always been the digital distribution of it. So, ExactTarget was around email marketing. Then it was around landing pages and about microsites. Then I got into the mobile space around how do you shrink content to text messaging or MMS or mobile apps, that type of stuff. And so it's all about how do we get that content into the format that people want to receive it in, along the journey there with your customers. So it's it is tightly aligned from my perspective, and getting creative in the ways that you're saying the same thing across multiple formats is kind of the name of the game.
Yeah, I mean, in my business, when even simple things that people think about, like doing link building, there's so many people out there doing link building with really bad content, really badly written emails and badly written posts to go with it. It can the reason that people don't have success a lot of times is because of the English, the story, whatever's being told is not well done. So I would think an MFA in English would be great at telling those stories.
Yeah. It's about storytelling. It's about economy of words. It's about efficiency. It's about not sounding like a robot, and not sounding clunky. And then on the other side of it, with any degree like that, you do a ton of reading, like just almost more than you can handle. And so as these new technical protocols come out, it's just about reading the stuff and then distilling it down into that content that they can distribute. So one of the things I did while I was at ExactTarget was I became an expert in the CAN spam legislation, and then also in all the text messaging legislation, and all the protocols and that type of stuff. And so it's just about reading it and then distilling it into 3 to 5 bullet points that marketers want to digest. And
all right. So when we come back, I want to talk about what Pattern89 is. All right, we might as well get into the meat of what you're doing these days and how you got there.
Sounds great.
Have you ever thought of reinventing yourself? Are you looking to create a new life's journey? Hi, I'm Kevin Barbaro, host of Coffee Talk XL every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc. Tune in live to hear me and my guests from a variety of different backgrounds. As a former college coach and a current full-time actor and owner of multiple companies, my show is as eclectic as my life. That's Coffee Talk XL every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Are you interested in having a better relationship with yourself, others, and God? Greetings. I'm your host, Dr. George Andow, For the show, a journey through into awareness. On my show, we journey into the awareness that the mind of God is the true seat of our personal consciousness. We join together each Monday at 7 p.m. So tune in on Talk Radio NYC.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant. And on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Hey, how are you doing? This is Joseph Franklin McElroy, back with the Wise Content Creates Wealth podcast with my guest, RJ Taylor. Hey, RJ, do you go by RJ or is there another name there?
Yeah, RJ all the time. My first name is actually Roy, but that's my dad. So I'm
Okay.
RJ from birth. Yeah.
All right. So you've been helping a company become $1 billion company. You've been hanging out with Salesforce. You've been watching birds. MFAs and things, and now all of a sudden you decide to form your own company. How come you decided to do that?
Well, for two reasons. One is when I graduated from college, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and that's truly like whatever that part of your gut tells you to do something. That's what I felt like it was telling me to do. And then the second is because after working at Salesforce and a few other startups, I just knew that there was this gap in the market, and it was the blend of creativity and AI that we could solve. A lot of marketers and content producers use a lot of A/B testing or multivariate testing approaches to figure out what to do. And with, I knew that you could solve it better with machine learning and artificial intelligence. So, felt like a good combination of the opportunity and what I wanted to do with this part of my life.
So what is the elevator pitch of Pattern89 that gets somebody to buy you?
Yeah, well, at Pattern89, we predict creative performance. And what we do is understand what worked about your creative and what will work for your upcoming creative. And rather than using an A/B test or multivariate test to kind of iterate yourself into that winner, we look across 49,000 different aspects of your creative and then provide you with the recipe of what's going to work. Mm-hmm. And those dimensions are everything. Like a good example is a customer who wants to sell couches, tries to understand, all right, should we put a gray couch or a blue couch in a picture? Mm-hmm. Should we have a gray couch with an orange blanket, or should it be a blue couch with a green blanket? And should there be humans on that couch? Should there be a man and a woman, a man and a man, 3 women? Should they have a dog in their lap, a cat? Should there be a window, a lamp? Like all these different creative decisions are made by a human today. Mm-hmm. And humans have good ideas, but we often get them wrong in terms of what's going to drive the clicks or the purchases or the engagements that we want. And so what Pattern89 does is it identifies the recipe for that creative that's going to drive the best result for you.
I imagine that's really great for creatives in a corporate setting, because they can answer the CFO who says, "Yeah, I want a baby instead of a grandma in that picture." Right. Well, the baby tests better, right?
Yeah. A lot of times marketers will use focus groups to answer some of these questions, but of course the focus group is limited to the 8 or 10 people that are in the focus group. Or they'll go to the client if they're an agency and say, "Hey, what do you think?" or "What do you like?" Or they'll go on an educated guess. And if COVID in the last 15 to 18 months have told us anything, It's that there's a lot of unpredictability out there across all aspects of things. And so what has worked in the past is not necessarily going to work in the future. So we can replace all of those inefficient ways of making decisions with predictive power from artificial intelligence that, humans can come up with the ideas, but the machines can do all of the investigation of massive amounts of data and find patterns and outliers that we can't see.
You say you have 500 billion points of data, and I think it's important for somebody wanting to understand wise content and how data works for. How do you get that kind of data?
Yeah, well, what we do is we connect into over 7,000 brands accounts. So when they connect to Pattern89, we give them a free, we call it a SWOT report, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Their free creative SWOT report in exchange for access to the creative and then the performance data of that creative. And then it's all anonymized so that that customer I was telling you about, if they wanted to know, is it a blue couch or a gray couch, we can look across over 7,000 brands worth of data, over 500 billion creative data points, and find all the blue couches and all the gray couches, all the green couches, all the red couches, all the yellow couches, all of the couches, and then understand what is it about the picture with a couch in it that's driving its performance up or down, and then spell that back to every customer based on this massive data sets, 500 billion data points, rather than only their data alone, which may or may not be statistically significant. So we look across that larger data set it's a 2-click process to get a customer or prospect connected into our platform. Super simple. And then you get the creative SWOT, and then we go from there.
Now, so you have data, but you have machine learning. I mean, so it's learning. How is it learning? Is there some success points that it sees and then analyzes the data, figure out how it got to that success point?
Yes, yeah. Every day we rerun our models. So our models are looking across 49,000 different creative dimensions. So like today, looking at all those blue couches and all the gray couches and orange and red and yellow, whatever. And then it looks at tomorrow, and it looks at the next day, and it reruns every day. And then it looks at all of the Tuesdays versus all the Wednesdays, all the Thursdays, all the Tuesdays in July versus all the Tuesdays in holiday season versus Tuesdays in the spring. And it understands seasonal patterns, day of the week patterns, as well as what came before and after, to then understand, all right, things are in the pattern, they're trending in the same way that we normally do, or they are different from the pattern. And that does change day of week, time of day, seasons, all of those different dimensions. And because we're looking at 49,000 different points, we can find things like, oh, looks like the color red is trending up over the last 3 days, and we predict that it's going to perform a little bit better over the weekend, those types of things. Or grandmas are coming back, or creative with people in masks are on the way up, or fireworks are in, or those types of things.
So the success is based upon what awareness, or how often people interact, or is there a financial success tied in?
Yes, so we can hook into any success metric that the customer is interested in. So sometimes they're reach and frequency objectives, like a CPM. Sometimes they are a click or a video view metric. Sometimes they're like app downloads. Sometimes they're email signups. Many of our customers are retailers who care about sales or return on ad spend. So it's any metric that you care about. And because we have enough data across that 500 billion data points, we can make statistically significant predictions across any outcome that you care about. So you just define what that metric is at the front.
Cool. Well, yeah. It must have been a challenge to get all those metrics. I read somewhere that you guys went out and got by sort of brute force method, your first 500 customers. It wasn't like you just went somewhere and got 500 people to give you all that data.
Yeah, I joke that I went door to door, virtual door to virtual door, but called up a bunch of customers that I used to work with and said, hey, I'm building this new platform. We're going to be anonymizing data. And the only way this works is if we get a large enough data set. Would you give me access to that anonymized creative data and performance data? And in exchange, I'll give you a report. So did that a bunch of times, and then we built a system that did it. So it was definitely a brute force.
How long did it take you to get that
about 2 years.
Really? So you really spent 2 years just
to get
to there.
Yeah. So we've been in business almost 4.5 years. So since that 2-year point, we've been really going strong because we now have enough data that we can make predictions that customers care about.
Well, is there any prediction that you're particularly proud of that was success for somebody?
Well, we worked with, so a bunch of them actually. We worked with a number of brands to get them back on track after COVID decimated their businesses, to understand how to actually get the lowest cost for their performance. Brands ranging from fitness brands whose businesses truly were decimated, some restaurants, as well as retailers as they went online. So we could identify everything from whether or not they should have a mask present in their ad, to what are the things that are actually trending up. But I think actually helping people through this pandemic time is what I'm most proud of.
Well, all right, that's a great story, actually. So I know there's always competitors. Who do you think is your competitors in this space?
Well, I mean, today there's kind of 3 categories of competitors. Our first is humans. And it's sort of ironic because we actually help humans become more creative, but a lot of times view what we do as directly competitive with the human decisions that they're making. But we can free up humans to make more creative strategic decisions. So having them parse through massive spreadsheets, we can help them to figure out instead how to be more creative. So that's the first. And then the second are these big AI systems like IBM Watson or Salesforce Einstein. There's lots of big, powerful AI systems out there that haven't been trained on the creative data set yet. So we see them sometimes come up as competitors. And then the third set are other AI startups that are doing similar things to what we're doing, answering the creative questions. So we're excited about them because they're pushing us for sure. So,
right.
But yeah, those are the 3 types of competitors we see.
Is MarketView's one that's slightly a competitive, or is that am I misreading that one? MarketView's? Yeah.
Oh yeah, potentially. I'm not familiar with them, but they may be a competitor on the creative side for sure.
All right, cool. Well, when we come back, I want to pick your brain about AI and content and marketing in general, and let's talk about what might happen in the industry and where you guys maybe see the future.
Love it.
Do you feel uninformed about menopause and how it impacts on your life? Hi, I'm Pat Duckworth, women's health strategist and host of the Hot Women Rock radio show, empowering women leaders at menopause. Join me every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. UK time on talkradio.nyc for interviews with inspirational women who will share their top tips to rock your world.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the Nonprofit Sector Connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Do you run or are ready to open your own business? Hi, I'm Jeremiah Fox. I've been operating and opening small business for the last 25 years, and I'm the host of the new show, The Entrepreneurial Web. Tune in every Friday at noon Eastern Time for insights and stories on the nuances of running small business right here on Fridays at noon, talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc, now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hello, this is Joseph Franklin McElroy back with the Wise Content Creates Wealth podcast and my guest, RJ Taylor. So RJ, where do you see AI's role in creative marketing?
Well, I think that we're actually seeing just the beginnings of AI and creativity come to light. You can look at like Sotheby's just sold its first 7-figure AI generated art in the last 6 months. And then we see AI writing things with platforms like OpenText and X.AI. Those platforms are actually creating content now, and we're seeing art and creativity, and then things like deep fakes. So it's all kind of a long way to say that we're seeing it actually enter into the creative space from a bunch of different angles. So I think we're at the beginning, and there's lots of questions to be allowed, that type of stuff, but just the beginning. But it's like the beginning of seeing it really permeate a lot of creativity aspects.
Would you, it's interesting, the 7-figure art sale. I actually hadn't heard of that. I heard about NFTs being something, but
yeah.
Would you say that it's the end result that was bought for 7 figures, or was it the algorithm that was bought for 7 figures?
Well, that is a good question. I mean, in this case, the output, the art piece was actually purchased for for that amount. But I think I don't know if you're asking me, but I think that the more valuable piece is the tech that actually created the content, because we're seeing more and more of that being interested. Like, how do we actually replicate the human brain in a way?
I mean, I'll have to go and see. Have to think the concept of art, that maybe it's beautiful. Is it a painting or something like that? I don't know what it is.
It is a painting.
So now you got my head going around and around.
Well, I love that you're using that. I love that you're using that term. Is it beautiful? Because that's where the subjectivity comes in. And like, I don't really think that it's beautiful, but like some people do. And that's like it's just a funny question, because I think the definition of beauty is what we're up against. Like, what do people think? Like, some people think that Jackson Pollock isn't beautiful, but like, I don't know, it looks like splatter paint that like my.
Well, and art world has gone away from beauty as a standard of high art, right? Beauty is looked down upon a little bit in terms of being a metric to measure. So craft is not nearly as elevated as it once in earlier centuries was. So I was wondering if it was bought for its craft or if it's bought for some sort of conceptual, and how then there was the concept created, or was it just the concept itself of AI creating something? And then I was wondering, well, now what is it creating that made the concept seem so stupendous? So it's a whole investigation. The minute I get off here, I'm gonna be like going crazy looking it up, see what's going on.
Well, there are more and more folks who are manipulating AI to create, or kind of curating AI content, like AI created things to say, this is cool, this is the new way of thinking. Or thinking in quotes, I guess. But I think that AI-driven creativity is where we're headed, where AI can inspire or react to or assist humans, and then kind of the next version of creating, because ultimately machines can't think. Machines don't have memory, they don't have emotions, those types of things. So all that they're doing is trying to replicate what humans have programmed to do, in a way, So humans, I think, are the ultimate creators, but then AI can be an assistant or a tool along that journey, and then we'll see what the outcomes are.
Right now, AI is pulling from data, right? So the data is past information. I mean, even if it's a microsecond in the past, it's still past information. So it's working on everything past, right? Can it take deductions it's making and create that as future data?
Well, that's a question. Like, I don't know, is I guess the short answer. It can predict, but like when we talk to customers about our platform, it has an accuracy rating associated with it. So it's never 100% accurate. So yes, it can predict what the future will be, but it's not at 100%. And so if we tell, any statistical model has some sort of error percentage in it, and that's where like there's a question or an issue. So like, if you can create massive amounts of content that gets great results, but 5% of the time it doesn't make sense, are you comfortable with that? Or what's your threshold? Does it have to be 99% or 99.5% or something? And like even humans make spelling errors or modify, like, I think they're homophones, like there, and there, so they might like spell them wrong. And like we are tolerant as humans of human spelling errors, but it seems that when a machine makes the similar error, humans are like, see, it's not accurate. I knew it wasn't going to be accurate. So it's the funny, like we have an expectation that AI generated content or creativity generated by has to be 100% accurate, but we like let humans make mistakes, but not machines.
Well,
yeah.
Well, the interesting thing that you're talking about mistakes and humans make mistakes, and then sometimes when a human makes mistakes, they internalize it and they like it, right?
Yeah, we're right.
Yeah, and they for example, who could have predicted Little Nas doing
Yes,
rap country song, right? Other than himself, because he liked it, right? He had to have been playing around, experimenting, and decided he liked it. He said, well, I think other people will like it. And then he planned the whole thing. He did social media, he did all sorts of stuff, and nobody would have given it any kind of possibility. Could AI have done that?
Well, I mean, no, not without human curation. Like, I think that we as humans have to understand what the mistakes are, whether they'll fit in or not fit in. And like from a marketing perspective, we have to worry about our brand identities, those types of things. And so the variant or the variations, AI could generate those variants, but the human has to select what risks they want to take with those variants. So I think that you have to have the human intervention from a creativity standpoint, or how to position. And even what you just said about Lil Nas, which I love that we're talking about this, but he planned it. He planned a social media presence. He planned how to position it, those types of things. And all of that is the human experience that has to be curated or managed by a human, even if an AI bot or something computer generated was new enough or interesting enough. It has to be kind of positioned in the right way.
So that it's a good. That was a nice little roundabout way to get to my question about what is AI good at and what are humans good at. And I think that the idea that this curation is a good differentiation point, right?
Yeah. I mean, curation. There's judgment in that. AI is not good at ethical decision making. They're like classic examples of like AI in self-driving cars that can't tell the difference between like a snowman and a real person, those types of things, and therefore would run over
a real person.
Even though, and that's an interesting one, because like humans kill a lot more people in vehicles than machines do, but the threat or the feeling is that like RoboCop's going to come and just annihilate your neighborhood or something, which is a real threat. I think a larger threat, just to be fair, is ethics. And AI, untrained AI or uneven trained AI can start to make pretty racist or misogynistic or otherwise just poor choices that could put yourself and your brand and our world at risk. So, there's a lot of questions regarding what AI is good at in regards to all sorts of other things, but ethics, I think, has to be one of the top things.
Is that because the algorithms or the data has the bias?
It's both, because a lot of the, for example, the facial recognition algorithms that are being used widely have been on white male faces and can't recognize other types of faces, and therefore it is either so then it is biased effectively towards one or more types of faces, and without that training set rich in its representation, there is a gap. And then the people who program the algorithms that go across that data set also tend to, in the tech world, we tend to see a certain type of person working in there historically as well. So there's representation problems in the data set itself, as well as with the programming of it. And so that creates some real problems. I can go into all sorts of examples there, but brands got to figure it out.
So in the current parlance of today, the AIs are colonizers.
Yeah. I mean, it's but the tricky thing is that the human or the brand will be held accountable for it, even if we say, "Oh, the AI did it" or something. Nope, we are responsible for it.
And how do you, Pattern89, deal with that ethical concern in your AI?
Yeah, it's actually a really, really important piece of our business. At the core, we've made sure that our company and team, we have one of our core values is build a company that represents the country. And so our team is half men and half women. It's 25% Black and people of color. So we've got just people who are working on these problems. The second is we remove all racial and ethnic markers from our data. So that means that we can't always answer all the questions, but because we don't have the data set or the AI trained on that data set, we can't answer questions of like, will a Hispanic person work better in this ad if they're sitting on the couch, or will a Black person work better? We won't answer that question because we don't trust the data enough to answer it. And then the third is we have an AI council that takes all these examples from our team as well as customers and reviews them on a quarterly basis because we don't have all the answers, but we want to get there. And so we're working on that, really on a daily basis, but on a quarterly basis, we kind of take a snapshot in time, and the AI council looks at all these examples and figures out how can we tweak, how can we change, how can we update to get to a better place where we could accurately answer those questions in a way that's respectful and appropriate.
Fabulous. So when we come back, we will finish up with a little bit more about AI's place in the world and Pattern89's dealing with it.
Are you passionate about the conversation around racism? Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. TLC, host of the Dismantle Racism Show, which airs every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc. Join me and my amazing guests as we discuss ways to uncover, dismantle, and eradicate racism. That's Thursdays at 11 o'clock a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a small business trying to navigate the COVID-19 related employment laws? Hello, I'm Eric Sauver, employment law, business law attorney, and host of the new radio show, Employment Law Today. On my show, we'll have guests to discuss the common employment law challenges business owners are facing during these trying times. Tune in on Tuesday evenings from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
Howdy, I am Joseph Franklin McElroy, host of the new podcast, Gateway to the Smokies. It airs on talkradio.nyc every Tuesday night from 6 p.m. to 7. Every episode is dedicated to memorable experiences in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park and surrounding areas. This show features experts and locals who expound upon the richness of culture, history, and adventure that awaits you in the Smokies. Tune in every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 7 on talkradio.nyc.
Do you love or are you intrigued about New York City and its neighborhoods? I'm Jeff Goodman, host of Rediscovering New York, a weekly show that showcases New York's history and its extraordinary neighborhoods. Every Tuesday live at 7 p.m., we focus on a particular neighborhood and explore its history, its vibe, its feel, and its energy. Tune in live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
This is Joseph Franklin McElroy. host of the Wise Content Creates Wealth podcast, and my guest, RJ Taylor. RJ, what do you think the most successful marketing teams will be doing in 1 year and in 5 years?
Well, in 1 year, they'll have completed their kind of first test runs of AI as a part of their marketing stack. Now is the time to have those experiments in place, try things, because in 5 years, the marketing team that hasn't done that isn't working at that company anymore. You've been left behind. I worked in the mobile space when the iPhone first came out, and in 2007, and one of fame, I have very few, but one is that I was third in line for an iPhone when they first came out. And at that time, 12% of the US population had a smartphone device, like that was internet powered. They were all BlackBerries back at that time. And nowadays we talk about mobile marketing just as part of our marketing stack. And that's from 2007 to 2020. Like crazy how much things have changed in 14 years. And I think in 5 years, nobody's going to be asking you like, hey, what's your AI strategy for marketing? Everyone's just going to be assuming that it's embedded. And in the same way that you don't say, hey, what's your mobile marketing strategy? You just say, what's your marketing strategy? And of course it's mobile. In 5 years, we're going to be saying, tell me about your marketing strategy. And of course you're using AI. So
I agree with you. I think that, and SEO, especially since I think COVID has just accelerated it dramatically. I mean, I would probably be thinking about all the AI stuff that we're doing now for SEO if it hadn't happened. So I agree.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think your evolution will be to meet that changing marketplace?
Yeah, so today we predict and analyze creative across some channels, doing it across all channels at that point. So we can understand, what as we think about marketers, think about all the different touch points that a marketer might experience our brand. We'll have built our software out so that it can analyze and predict across all those touch points with nuanced answers across each of them. I also think that our platform will go from just creating recipes to actually executing those recipes, meaning using natural language generation or NLG, as well as GANs, which are those application or the application of AI that actually can generate content that meets the recipe. So it'll be auto-generated content, auto-generated imagery, auto-generated video based on that recipe. And then it'll really be about curation, ethical judgment, emotional review, and brand management on the marketing side. So we'll have built it out to that point.
Who should reach out to you right now and work with you?
Well, we work with about half and brands and agencies. And so if you're a director of digital or a head of creative at a brand or a digital marketing agency, you should talk to us, or you should be investigating the space. We have a number of different free resources, or I can point you to some great groups like the Marketing AI Institute, just because everybody needs to be learning about this stuff. But brands or agencies that are, really want to stay ahead of the coming trends on AI. Cool.
And how does somebody follow you or contact you?
Yeah, pattern89.com is the best spot there. You can also email me. I'm rj@pattern89.com, and I'll get you to the right place or answer your questions directly. So we're on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and we post some fun stuff out there because we can cull all of that creative data and then find all sorts of random things like what ice cream is going to be trending or those types of things. So it's kind of a fun follow as well.
Cool. Well, thank you for being on our show today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Very informative and very interesting. And you've given me a lot of things to go look up now.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll be down at your motel here sometime soon. So can't wait to
That'll be good. You're always welcome.
Thank you.
So I just want to close and remind you that you can go to wisecontentcreateswealth.com to find out more about this podcast. You can also see the live Zoom stream on facebook.com/wisecontentcreateswealth. We're on the talkradio.nyc network for live audio every Friday from 1 to 2 And I recommend you come on and listen to us. There's also a lot of other great shows on this network, all live. I think the one that precedes us is Entrepreneurial Web, which is a decent, really nice show, talking for small businesses and understanding things that you can do to be successful. My company, since 2014, as Galileo Tech Media, has provided a suite of global clients, managed SEO and content marketing services, ensuring maximum visibility in organic search. With locations in New York City and Charleston, South Carolina, and a team of SEO and content experts spanning the world, we offer a nimble and data-driven approach to content marketing, encompassing SEO, semantic research and optimization, technical marketing skills in SEO and web technologies, and topical clusters and other various aspects of complex marketing online. We work in competitive multi-location industries like travel, hospitality, and real estate. And our clients have included Marriott International, Ritz-Carlton, Starwoods, Travel Leaders, Better Homes and Gardens, Neuter, and Schnabel, and various other companies in the travel, real estate, B2B, and multi-location space. We were created to meet the needs of a changing workforce. Taking inspiration from Galileo Galilei's passion for freedom of inquiry, our firm was founded based upon science, creativity, independence, and freedom. Our networks of global professionals are experts in SEO and content marketing who enjoy the freedom of flexible working opportunities. And now we're also well engaged in podcasting and multiple ways to put your content out there. And we look forward to anybody reaching out to us, galileotechmedia.com, or email me at galileotechmedia.com. And look forward to seeing you all next week for Wise Content Creates Wealth podcast. Thank you.